if you got to get up in that 1% club of elite sport, we need to do many things that you're uncomfortable. Motivation has its own up and downs, but discipline is what takes you where you'll eventually get.
What were the key learnings that you brought to the world of athletics when transitioning from army to the world of sports?
You make the best of friends either on a battlefield or in the world of sport.
You've spent as much time with the able-bodied athletes as much with the para-athletes. So how do you see your role different in these two?
Like you have Sheetal Devi, right? Double amputee archer.
Yes.
You're stroking your beard right now.
Yeah.
She can't scratch her forehead. She needs assistance for that. If the medals are bad, that doesn't mean everything is wrong.
Yeah.
And if the medals are good, doesn't mean everything is good.
Yes. So these are some of the things that they can do. What are the things that young athletes should avoid? In today's episode of Blue Rising Podcast, I have Dr. Ameya Kagali with me. He's a leading sports medicine professional with extensive experience across both elite and para sports. Today, we'll hear from him on his time with the Army and the world of sports. Dr. Ameya, thanks for coming to the Blue Rising Podcast. Really excited to having a chat with you.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
Directly jumping into the questions, I think the most pertinent question, what led you to, move on from army into the world of sports?
Actually, the journey it was a very natural transition.
Yeah.
Because in the army, we are just taught to play and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And the core values, ethos in sport and the forces is pretty similar.
Yeah.
It surrounds discipline, surrounds fitness. So I think it was a very natural progression to shift from, and pursuing a career in sport always attracted me. While in uniform or outside of it, I knew that would be a constant.
But what drew you to army in the first place? Like, how did you choose that career option to start with?
Because I've seen enough of medical profession. I'm the fourth generation medic in my family.
Amazing.
And it's not just from one side, it's from both the sides. So it's a bit too overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I was not the regular doctor who would sit in a cabin or work in an OT.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough in my medical college, there were a lot of teachers who were ex-armed forces. So I think that kind of life kind of attracted me, where there's, kind of a balance between outdoor sport and some activity, some adventure, some travel.
Yeah.
When I saw a window of opportunity, there are doctors required and there is a route, there's a pathway for it. I'm like, why not?
So you mentioned that there were clear parallels between, army and the world of sports. What were the key learnings that you brought to the world of athletics, when you're transitioning from army to the world of sports?
I call it very similarly different. When I talk about being similar, it is run-of-the-mill work.
Yeah.
And if you know that the army, many people, they get confused between motivation and discipline.
Yes.
Motivation has its own up and downs.
Yeah.
One day you can be and one day you cannot. But discipline is what takes you where you'll eventually get.
Absolutely.
Doing the hard yards, the boring days when nobody's looking at you.
Yeah.
And that's what. So army is prepared for war. Like it can happen tomorrow, it can happen in 20 years, it can never happen.
Absolutely.
So, but you have to be disciplined and you have to, be at it when people are not watching you. And that's very similar to an athlete's life. People see the accolades or the brickbats, and it's so result oriented, the sport, unfortunately. You just had the World Cup recently. If that one catch were not taken, or if, 4 catches were taken by the opponent, did that mean that the preparations were wrong?
Yeah.
That's why I call it similarly different.
Yeah.
But there in the army, when you fail, you lose a life.
Absolutely.
But in sport, when you fail, you also
just lose a game.
come back.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, from a mental aspect or physical aspect, there are a lot of emotional turmoil that can go through one while you're all alone, even in a team sport sometimes. Mm-hmm. So even when you're at the battalion, your brothers and your brethren are with you, but ultimately it's each man for himself or now each woman for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. During your time in sports, I've noticed that you've done a lot of work with the team sports, like Rajasthan Royals and the hockey teams. Any specific preference, or you find it similar to army since you mentioned the camaraderie and the teamwork? Any specific reasons for more team?
Actually, I never thought of it like that. But looking back, even the sport which I choose to play recreationally, I prefer to go towards the team sport.
Yes.
It's more than just a game.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in the army, we have a saying that, you make the best of friends either on a battlefield or in the world of sport.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, nothing against an individual sport, because I feel even in individual sport, there's a team behind the
Absolutely.
player who's doing what he does or she does. So yeah, I mean, it kind of percolated with the innate personality that I have.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line, it was a very subconscious thing, and since you
Yeah.
brought it out, maybe it could be that.
Yeah, so talking about the team sports, I think you've done a lot of work with Rajasthan Royals and the Indian national hockey team. So, any key anecdotes or any moments that you can talk about which really changed the way they looked at the overall physiology part of things?
Actually, I'll go back to hockey, and
Yeah.
hockey women's sport I'll focus on,
Yeah.
because I was handling 4 teams.
Yep.
So what pattern we saw was that, especially the junior women and the senior women, physiologically, when we saw the blood parameters, we were kind of quite shocked actually that they were playing on reserves.
Yeah.
Parameters were bare, just meeting the criteria.
And that was because of the nutrition? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The nutrition, the education of what's to be eaten, what's not to be eaten. See, because they come from really Hindi heartlands or the rural part of the country, and they might toughen it out there. But when they come to elite sport, it's a totally different ball game.
Absolutely.
And we have these extreme views. Ki nahi, hum to yahi khayenge, or I won't eat this, or I'll train a certain way. Which, unfortunately, if you got to get up in that 1% club of elite sport, we need to do many things that you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And make that a routine. It's just the need of the sport. So coming to physiology, which is so close to my heart, the parameters, the heart rate variability, introducing that and how the girls adapted was very overwhelming.
And did they use any device to track it? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We had catapults, we had GPS, or game-ready machines, state-of-art stuff, and which was given at, and I was happy to see that it was at the junior women also had access to it.
Yeah.
So by the time they make it to the national team, they are not found wanting.
Yeah.
And since the origin of the AstroTurf in hockey, it has become more like a hit and run game.
Yeah.
So even if you're very good skillfully, you will not last the 45th or 50th minute,
Yes, yes.
So that's one of the key takeaways for me, that the adaptability of the individuals to know that, oh, this is good for me and this is what works for me. The kind of maturity shown by an 18-year-old forward who's coming from a random village in Haryana to make it to the Indian team. That transition was, I think, so beautiful to watch. And I was there for right from the Tokyo Olympics till the Commonwealth Games.
Yes.
And that's 18 months is a sizable time. And the maturity also they showed during COVID in the bubble.
Absolutely.
The camaraderie grew actually.
Yes.
Some it was like, what will happen? The tournament is delayed. You never know what the dates of the Olympics were.
Yeah.
But I think the team bonded really well. They helped out. They looked on for each other. And I think that's one of the reasons where we had a 4th place finish for the women and the first bronze in 41 years for the men. So these are small things, What made India go there were these small finer nuances of sport.
Yeah.
Which, I was honored and privileged to be a spectator to some.
And how does this vary from sport to sport? Like, you've done work with cricket, you've done work with hockey. Is it very, very different, or the nuances remain the same and it just manifests in a different way?
I think the latter is true. Always. The basics remain the same. Our human anatomy is the same. Same blood, same muscles. But again, the way we move, how we implement our actions, how we implement our training and what we have done on the D-Day, that will what define an athlete. And be it cricket or be it, of course, the skill set is different.
Yeah.
But the training, the discipline, and how you go about it, how each player goes about it.
Yeah, I think in sports and athletics, there are 2 aspects. One is superior performance and second is injury management.
Yeah.
Are they related, or they're 2 different tracks that you work with your athletes on?
They are definitely related. And most of the injuries, what we see in an Indian scenario, because I've worked abroad too, but more here in an Indian scenario, I feel is related to overtraining. Like, we have one of a very famous clinical sports medicine textbook which says there's nothing like an acute injury. So you see that one ankle sprain or that one hit and the ACL being torn.
Yeah.
They're mostly non-contact, and we can prevent all of them. And that's why we have to assess them all year round.
Yeah.
So that we get a predictive value or the probability of, okay, this person's left ankle is a little wobbly, they need to train that a little more. So if we can do that, when that split second decision comes, see, because sport, you're always reacting to something.
Absolutely.
Either the ball or the stick or the other opponent player, whatever.
Yes.
So if you train your mind and you train your musculoskeletal system, which can be done,
Yes.
but the onus lies in the athlete.
Yeah.
6 a.m. training, please be there.
Yes.
They know this is what needs to be done. I'm talking about the elite level, not at the junior level.
Yes.
I talk a different tone with the juniors.
But you did mention that even at the junior level, this is catching up, right? But what about intermediate level, under 15, under 13? Are you seeing prevalence of sports science there as well now?
Actually, that's the toughest group to work with.
Yeah.
Because in that 1%, you know what to do and what not to do. And while starting sport, it's all hunky-dory, it's all fun for a 8, 9, 10-year-old. But these early teens and late teens where, they're developing maturely, there's a growth spurt happening, they're going through their emotional turmoil. So there, the thing is that if you're giving sports science to them, we need to really refine them in terms of them, their parents, their coaches, all need to be on board.
Understood.
Whereas at the elite level, we may not have the parents on board or the guardians on board.
Yeah.
So that remains a challenge where you're not explaining the concept to just the individual, but to their personal
ecosystem. Yeah.
So unless obviously, and everything has its own financial
Absolutely.
Sports science is not anywhere close to affordable in the sense where we would like to go. I would like to test everyone, But yeah, it is tough. And it is a dynamic age group.
Then what are the baby steps towards that? Like imagine a 13, 14-year-old athlete. What are the 2, 3, 4 things that he or she should be doing?
One, we can just do a basic body composition analysis.
Yeah.
What is the fat percentage?
Yeah.
What is the muscle percentage? And maybe a foot analysis. So that's very important and underrated in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not
saying... Does the foot analysis also lead to posture correction analysis?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. The running styles are different.
Yeah.
See, we don't need to make drastic changes. But just small, you can make them aware. Like, okay, when you're running, you can use your core more than just your quads. I mean, that's where we want to go so that even if the child doesn't take up elite sport, he's at least fit for life. And I think that's the goal, which we should be. When you talk about a sporting nation, it should be just play for the fun of it. So even a 40-year-old should play.
Absolutely.
Not thinking, yaar, ek 10 saal ka bachcha hai, mujhe India khelna hai. Let that be a byproduct. I mean, it's good to have aims and stuff.
So these are some of the things that they can do. What are the things that young athletes should avoid, as a growing up habit, so that it does not lead to long-term injury scares?
I think don't do anything extremes at that age.
Yeah.
Either train too hard or we have, especially with young teenage girls, like not eating. I've seen girls, who forcefully try to...
Even athletes?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Try to vomit because they are guilty of, having that piece of cake.
Oh, wow.
They come up to me, nahi, wo kal raat ko biryani khaya tha और अभी अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, कुछ उल्टी के लिए दवाई दो. I'm like, this is like, it was a learning for me. I mean, these are also the cases that we see. But avoid extremes. And just focus on why you started playing that particular sport. Because when you start playing a sport, you don't think about finances, the gear I'll be getting, the endorsements I'll sign.
Absolutely.
You just want to go out there, get some free time.
Yes.
And after lunch break is for 40 minutes, you finish your lunch in 10 minutes, I'll get 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And you want that nascent thought to, continue through life.
Yes.
And then slowly build on it rather than think too far ahead.
And, changing gears now, you've spent as much time with the able-bodied athletes as much with the para athletes. So how do you see, your role different in these two?
Firstly, I felt like a goddamn fool when I started my career in parasport, because there's a lot of unlearning to do.
Yeah.
The basic anatomy, what I learned in my first year of MBBS was actually out of the window.
Wow.
Because I was like, ye galat hai, wo galat hai, ye galat hai. Because a runner when you see a marathoner, a gate cycle is there, there's a front foot contact. But then now there is no front foot contact. There's no front foot in the first place.
Absolutely.
So how do you come around that and how do you think? Now we got to think backwards. Now, does that have a repercussion on his back? Or if we have a person with club feet, he doesn't have an arch. So how will he land? And he's a probable medalist even at the national games in high jump. That's where we need to come out of that cliched environment of what we have been taught, unlearn many things. Even like now, if you see any of your crew member or anyone out here, you see somebody limp, even for the slightest cut they have. You'll be like, "Arey yaar, ye kya ajeeb chal raha hai?"
Exactly.
But that's their life. And that is their normal. So we think of everyone from our prism of being normal.
So how did you prepare yourself to be able to coach them? Like, what was the journey
So
like?
initially, when I saw these athletes,
Yes.
it was just about understanding their body biomechanics.
And each one of them are unique.
Each one of them, exactly. Just be amongst them and be open to learning.
Mhm.
The more time you spend talking to them or just observing them,
Yeah.
what they do, how they're training. For I give an example, for the hockey boys, 7 o'clock, 6:30 are boys to get up, go
Yeah.
have their breakfast, and on the field by 6:55, 7 training starts. But the same thing for a para athlete, he has to wake up at say 5 in the morning. Is it wheelchair accessible? Even the challenge of getting up from bed to going to
Of
the
course.
washroom, they need aid. And sometimes the water has to be in the right temperature for, if it's a spinal cord injury. If it's too hot, if it's too cold, that can trigger a certain movement in the lower limbs or whichever part is affected. And then he has to get ready. And if they don't have bowel bladder control, he has to change the diapers or she has to change the diapers regularly. You feel thirsty, you gulp a sip of water, right? But if a para athlete is sitting here, he will think 10 times. Now imagine he has an event in 30 minutes and that time he has the urge to drink water, but his diaper is wet. These are just food for thought, which, we as individuals who are afar will not be able to even relate. So the best thing is that I'm talking all this through experience. Now my next goal is to, what do I do to solve that problem?
But are our academies and our center of excellence, are they prepared to cater to the para sports?
They are heading in that way because it's high time they wake up.
Mhm.
They have, superseded the able body fair and square.
Yeah.
Right? If you see the growth of para sport, in the Olympics, it's just still in single digits.
Yeah.
We are nowhere in the top 20. But paras have cracked open the top 20.
That's actually my next question to you. Why do you think that the para sports has done better than the able body sports in Olympics at least? Like, why do you think there's such a big gap?
I think one, the representation.
Okay.
And secondly is it's all aligned in a way where the competition India has, they have really excelled and they have been number one in their own domain first.
Yeah.
We have javelin, shot put, club throw, even badminton. The para guys have aced it in that domain.
Yeah.
So for example, in Paris, when you enter, out of 84 athletes, close to 7 or 10 athletes entered the Paralympics as world number one.
Yeah.
Avni Lekra, Sumit Antil. These are all world number one we're talking.
Yes.
That's called domination. Now, we saw back in the day, 99, 2003, Team Australia in cricket.
Yes.
The men's team. You knew that they had a certain aura with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how our para athletes enter that space. They want to own that place. That plays a big role. And of course, the regular comp. Now the exposure, especially. I'll give you another stat in para badminton. Para badminton was first inducted in Paralympics at Tokyo. Before that, there was never.
Oh wow, never knew that.
Yeah. So there's an academy in, I think, the northern part of the country. It had around 30, 40 odd para athletes. And out of those 40, they produced around, I think, 4 or 5 who represented India, which is a big deal.
Big deal.
1 in 5, 1 in 6. Now, fast forward to Paris. That same academy from 30 had risen up to 650 athletes.
Wow.
Para athletes, pure para athletes. So when your representation increases,
yes,
your competition increases. When the competition increases, you automatically want to get that 1% better than the other.
Absolutely.
Those are the reasons I would say, but I would refrain from commenting on why the Olympics didn't do well because I haven't worked as closely as I worked with these boys and girls.
Can you talk about your personal learnings from your time at Tokyo and Paris Para Olympics? What were your personal learnings from there, from observing athletes from across the world?
The personal learning was that, when I entered the village for the first time, I remember very vividly, we had a late night flight. It was a private plane that we...
You're talking about Tokyo or Paris?
Tokyo. It was late at night.
Yeah.
We flew via, I think, Hong Kong and then Tokyo.
Yes.
If you leave at like 7 a.m. from India, we reach the next day at around about, say, 5, 6 in the morning. And then from there, we go to the village.
Yeah.
So right from the check-in till we landed, and from there, the bus came to pick us to the village.
Yeah.
Throughout the challenge faced by the para-athlete.
Crazy, yeah.
Just like for a glass of water, their food, how do they travel within the flight?
Are they all traveling with a companion?
It depends again on the category.
Okay.
If they're spinal cord, they get a guide. If they're amputees, sometimes they do have their wheelchair assistance, sometimes they don't. But coming to the village, it's not all that gruesome. we see so many para athletes out there, and the connect that one amputee has with another, irrespective of the country, is just so beautiful.
Amazing.
Like you have Sheetal Devi, right? The double amputee archer.
Yes.
So when she meets a 45-year-old male from USA with a similar condition, that connect can't be described by us.
Crazy.
They just look and they know, like they understand each other's worlds, what they face, how do they live there. Something as small as, you're stroking your beard right now.
Yeah.
She can't scratch her forehead. She needs assistance for that.
Yeah.
It's something that minute, which you and me will have to think and then come to a conclusion. Acha, ye kar sakte kya? But those two, they don't know each other. The gender doesn't match. They have a 30-year age gap. One is in the US, one is in India. But still they find that common connect. And that for me is beautiful. And of course, administratively, each and every place is accessible, because accessibility is not a luxury.
Yes.
It's a right. It's a birthright.
It's a right.
And I think that's where India is lagging. It's the infrastructure and the civic mindset. That how do I reach this place? Now, even when I parked my car and I came up here, how does a para athlete come here?
Yeah.
Just food for thought, not criticism, just food for thought.
Yes. Yeah. How has the role of Paralympic Committee of India been in this journey? Because they seem to be doing well from a medals point of view, but from infrastructure, accessibility, awareness, how do you think the role is?
Again, if the medals are bad, that doesn't mean everything is wrong.
Yeah.
And if the medals are good, doesn't mean everything is good.
Yes.
So there's always scope for improvement. Now the eyeballs are more out here.
Yeah.
So you need to up that tally. And it's like, a student getting 35% is good. 50% is chalo theek. But 80, 85, 90, then your expectation increases. Right? So I think PCI is in that phase right now.
Yeah.
So unless the game is stepped up.
But do you see a pipeline? See, right now we have a bunch of number ones across the sports. But do you see a pipeline of more number ones in each sport?
Yes.
Okay.
And it differs in para sport because there are so many categories. You can see there are like 3 gold medals in the javelin category itself. So I think even people need to be sensitized. And that's one thing of Paris, what I learned. COVID, of course, Tokyo was a little isolated.
Yeah, isolated.
Games. But Paris was open to all. Outside every venue, there was a dummy venue. Like outside the Roland Garros for wheelchair tennis. They had prepared a small tennis court where wheelchairs were placed, and kids from the 6th grade, 5th grade were made to come.
Oh, amazing.
Now, this child, when he grows up, 15 years, 20-year-old, wherever the Olympics is or Paralympics is, he knows what he's seeing or she's seeing. Because he's seen that happen in his own country. Yeah. And that's, you're planting that seed.
Yes.
Now, if that kid, forget about being a para, if he becomes a doctor or this thing, so he would want to come back and work with these people,
And you spoke about the categories in the para sports.
Yeah.
How important are they? And if you were to make any changes, would you?
First thing is that it is the cornerstone of para sport, because classification para sport won't agree.
Yeah.
It's not as complicated as people may think it is.
Yeah.
It's just like, you have a boxing match.
Yeah.
You can't have a heavyweight fighter.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's just that.
Yeah.
So if you're an upper limb amputee, you can't have him or her pitted against a blind athlete.
Of course. And are these classifications consistent across all sports, or each sport has a different classification?
In Paralympics, there are 21, 22 events.
Yeah.
Each sport has a different classification, which is a numerical and a alphabet.
So the classification in javelin will be very different from shot put?
No. Athletics
is all same.
Athletics is all same. Badminton is different, boccia, para fencing. So, and in order to be a classifier, you can be classified in multiple sports.
Okay.
But the pathway is individualized.
Yeah.
So if I become a classifier in badminton, I'm not able to classify athletics too. I have to do another course for that. It's a level 1, level 2, level 3.
Wow.
That's where again the PCI's role is there.
And have you seen any cases where classification, what we got in the national event, was not accurate for international?
So many. See, again, I'm always caught between two worlds when I work with para. One is that, "Arey, ye kya chal raha hai? Arey, galat hai. Isko rok do." Now, if there's an event held in outskirts of Mysore somewhere, there you have an open nationals for para. They come, parents get their children and everything, and I see coaches, "Arey, nahi, T41, T42." They just label them and then they go away. So one is like, "Yaar, what is this? You're not a professional, don't do this," and all that. But the second thought that comes to my mind is that, something is better than nothing.
Correct.
at least they're getting sensitized about the sport here. Bhale classification galat ho, but let them play. So that's one aspect. And secondly is that we do lack classifiers for the country of our size. And my whole endeavor is that let the athlete be eligible to participate.
Yeah.
Because I'll give an example now. Tomorrow, God forbid, if I lose my little finger, technically that's an impairment.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not big enough an impairment for me to become a para-athlete. Similarly, if I lose my wrist joint, yes, I'm eligible to become a para-athlete. But what category I might come in, let the international classifier discuss.
Sure.
So the goal is that let them participate.
Mm-hmm.
We as doctors in India, as medical people from the country, should at least make sure that this athlete, when he or she goes abroad, most of the time it's self-funded, especially in the initial days, let them go and play. Because it's very disheartening. You can imagine, you go to a competition, you have a classification before it, and you're told you're not eligible. You just backpack and come back.
Yeah.
And the other part also is that if you're not classified in one sport, it doesn't mean you're not a para-athlete at all.
Yeah.
There's a different class which you may try in another sport.
Mm-hmm. And our coaches, our sports coaches, are they trained to be coaches for para-athletes, or they're still the mixed?
It's still a mixed crowd yet. In fact, the coaching scenario in India needs a bit of more upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame the coaches because they might not have been exposed to the sports science setup. Because back in the day, when I was growing up, the coach was everything. He was the
nutritionist, psychologist, everything.
He was a doctor. Yaar, bukhar hai beta, chalo yaar, le lo. That kind of a deal it was.
Still happens across the country.
Again, the whole idea is to decentralize.
Yes.
The more you decentralize, the more you give accountability to others in their respective profession. The sport is going to go, the country is going to grow.
Yeah.
And that holds true even the coaching space for para.
Absolutely.
There are a few in the northern sector who work exclusively with, upper limb amputee javelin throws. But again, it's the numbers are not there yet.
Got it. Probably the last question from my side. Growing up, sports medicine was not something, which was a mainstream profession. And now I think it's becoming fairly mainstream and the impact is there to be seen. So what would your advice to a budding sports medicine professional be?
I think, the difference is when you think of a doctor, think about white coat with a bit of pot belly. I'm sorry, my medical community, but be in a corporate hospital or practice. But in sport, you need to be out on the ground, and there's no hierarchy. Unfortunately, again, in the medical system, like in the army, it is driven by hierarchy. Yeah, sir, aap ho, main junior hu, main senior hu. So that doesn't work in sport.
Yeah,
because in your ground, you're in shorts, you're in a t-shirt. Everyone first name.
Yes.
So I think that's one thing. Come out of the mindset of, okay, this is the way to do it. This is the admission. This is, your theory, but on ground, it is something entirely different.
Yeah.
And now, since 2015, India has started the MD sports medicine program, which is post MBBS. And there are around 20 odd seats, I think, across the country.
Amazing.
I was fortunate or unfortunate. I had to go abroad to do the same.
Yeah.
But I'd love to do it currently if there's a guy who's an MD sports medicine right now.
Amazing. Thanks, Dr. Ameya. Thanks for coming over. It was an amazing chat with you. The audience would have loved to hear more, but thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.